Screen Slurps.
Hello and welcome to Screen Slurps, the movie review podcast where we discuss the good, the bad, and the savage in the world of cinema. I'm Adam Meisner.
And I'm Laura Herlocker.
And this week, I might actually be hanging out in your garden.
Because you are a gnome?
I am a gnome. You know, I'm not going to lie, growing up, I think a lot of people might have had that mentality with me because
You're short?
I'm a man, I am very short, and I think especially...
Did you wear a pointy hat?
I might as well have, honestly, because as a youth growing up, being a short man, it's just instinctual, I think, for a lot of people to just make fun of you for being short and being a dude. And especially as a child, other men... especially I don't think so much women make fun of other men for being short. It's just a lot of dudes just hey, short man, like shoving you around and thinking, especially in gym class, things like that.
Did you get gnome often?
No.
I would say I feel like you would get leprechaun more just because you look Irish.
Yeah, I think especially for our time when we were growing up in the 90s.
Gnomes weren't as big of a thing as they are now.
No.
But leprechauns, shoot, we got that horror film with Jennifer Aniston. Leprechauns were all the rage.
Yeah.
We had Lucky Charms. Everyone knew what a leprechaun was.
Oh, yeah, that was a big thing. The commercials with the Lucky Charms guy. They're after me, Lucky Charms.
Yes. Anyway, we did the Irish film last week. We're not doing leprechauns this week. We're on to a different mythical creature.
Sorry, Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson. We already had our time with you on our last episode.
Now we're on gnomes.
Now we're on to the gnomes. And you know what? The thing with our film this week, which is entitled Gnome Alone, the strangest thing, other than it being a wonderful play on there was Home Alone. Now there's
a lot
Gnome
of
Alone.
references in this movie, and the title obviously is a reference.
And
to
there
Home Alone,
were two films called Gnome Alone. There's this film called Gnome Alone, and then there was a horror film called Gnome Alone.
I was going to say this is the 2017 Gnome Alone, not to be confused with the 2015, I believe it was, horror film about a woman who is given a bewitched gnome who kills people. And the gnome is played by Vern, what's his last name? Who played Mini-Me in Austin Powers. Adam and I watched the trailer. That movie looks, I don't even know how to explain it.
And to avoid even more confusion, can we just say that there was a horror film series about leprechaun killers?
About the leprechaun. That's what I was talking about earlier. Jennifer Aniston, leprechaun.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it just goes full-blown circle here.
It's a full circle here, ladies and gentlemen.
But this week is about the animated family comedy Gnome Alone. It's an animated film, and it makes so many plays on other famous films in the script that we are definitely going to be talking about it. We are definitely going to cover all of that. But before we get into that, we want to talk about our side slurps. And if this is your first time listening, our side slurps are the things that we have been doing this past week other than watching the film of the week. Maybe things like watching other television shows, other films, maybe even just walking around the block like we're Jenny from the block. I don't know.
Don't be fooled by the rocks that I got.
You never know who Jenny is, or if there's anyone else named Jenny.
We have a neighbor named Jenny. Maybe she was walking around the block.
That's true. So Laura, what have you been up to this past week?
I finally started watching again Vampire Academy. I know I talked about this before. I'm sorry, people. I watched like 3 episodes and then I stopped. So I'm getting back into it, trying to finish that first season, just because it was a TV series or a book series, that I loved when I was in high school. So finally, I'm going to finish Vampire Academy this week. That is the plan. The TV show, much, much better than the movie that they made a few years ago, which was crap. I am also playing Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West, the sequel. I'm really enjoying it. I think I'm actually like a good way through, maybe like 20% or something, which isn't really a good way, but to me, it's a good way through. The map is huge. So it's definitely Me and I'm one of those people, Adam. I don't know if I feel like you do the same. There's some people, that just play like the main quests, focus on main quests and like don't worry about the sides. I'm opposite. I like have to get the side quests done, especially if the level for them is under like my current level. I'll just go back and do all these side quests. So it takes me forever to play games because I literally have to do like everything. Everything.
Well, when you start to really get into an RPG kind of game, I think it's totally worth it to really dig into the side quests because you could just play the main storyline and clear the game very quickly, or you could
What's
really
the fun in that?
Get into the side quests as well and see what the game truly has to offer with the side storyline.
The only issue is if the game doesn't scale and you get super high level, then it's kind of like when you go back to the main quest, and if you're way above the level that it should be, you kind of just like breeze through and you're like, was this really a challenge? So that's just something you have to keep track of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Otherwise, Adam, I don't know if you were going to talk about this, but Adam and I have actually had like a lot of social outings in the past week or so. We've seen friends like, I feel like 3 nights or something this week. But one of the highlights for me was just on Friday night, we went to Laugh Factory and saw a few of our friends who were doing some stand-up. We got to see quite a few stand-up sets that night. Were there like 7 people, I think?
I believe so.
Yeah.
There's a great handful of stand-up comics.
And it was great. It was a lot of fun. Laugh Factory is like a super popular place here in Chicago. It was my first time going, though, even though I've lived here like 8 years. But that was really great. Saw some friends, like we said. And then otherwise, like the biggest thing we've been doing is just we are in wedding mode. Our wedding is in like 3 months. So it's finally time that we are really like working on crafts and decor and finalizing things and emailing vendors. So that's honestly probably going to be my life, I feel like, for the next few months until the day comes. But yeah. Oh, wait. I also started reading Redwall. I can't remember the author's name. Adam, you know?
Brian Jacques or Brian Jacques.
I think so. Anyway, Redwall. It is a series that I read as a kid. It's very like Lord of the Rings, but everyone's animals.
With mice.
Like it's just this like fantasy medieval-y thing, and there's animals. And I read it as a kid, like I said, and I loved it. And I heard a rumor, I need to look up if this is true still, a rumor that it is being made into like a movie or a TV show or something. So I decided this year's one of my goals is that I was going to reread at least the first book and kind of refresh and remind myself about why I liked it so much as a kid. So that is my current read. And then I think that's it. I'll hand it over to you now, Adam. What have you been slurping?
I think that's great to hear, Laura. And I was just going to say as well that you and I have been doing a lot of planning for our upcoming wedding. And I think it's definitely putting a lot on our plate because, as you were saying, it's coming up in the next 3 months. So what seems like an event that's quite a ways away at first, it really catches up to you in the seat that we're in right now when it's just 90 days away, and it puts a lot on our plate to do. It's a little bit of a pressuring scale as the event is arising, and we're beginning to really get a lot of things done very quickly now as we begin to plan even more and more as the time comes near us. So it's very exciting, and I can't wait for it to finally arrive, and it just brings adulthood even closer and closer to your face as you have to do many, many things in a matter of time very quickly. So not like I'm not already an adult.
I know. I like how you said it brings on adulthood. I feel like we've been adults for a while.
Yeah. But you know
a
what I
new
mean.
chapter in our adulthood.
Yeah. You know what I mean. So speaking of adulthood, we've been watching a lot of BattleBots lately.
What does that have to do with? That's the opposite of adulthood.
It's the most adult-like show out there. Watching a bunch of RC robots with weapons fighting each other out on the battlefield.
Hydraulics.
Exactly. Well, I think the most recent episode of BattleBots that I was watching was just very intense. I think with the most recent season that you and I, Laura, have been watching, which I think the one we're on right now is it's 2020, I think, is the season that we're on.
Oh, is it that recent?
Yeah, 2019 or 2020. is the one that they're on.
Mhm.
And they've gotten a lot more into sharing the behind the scenes with the
Yeah.
creators now
Definitely.
in the show, and what the creators like to plan and do with their own robots to plan for fighting other robots. And they're discussing much more about the types of robots.
Behind
So
the scenes.
whether they're flippers or whether they're like
spinners.
spinners,
Sounds
yeah,
like Pokemon.
the types of robots that they are. Yeah. So I think it's very interesting that they cover the aesthetics of the robots themselves, and it really gives the viewers, such as myself or all the other viewers out there, a very solid idea of how to plan for building their own robot if you really want to cross that road.
Mhm.
I'd like to sometime, but I understand it takes a lot to really build a robot like that. So it'd really be something for me to sit down and have to plan a lot.
We'll start
for
off small.
building. So, yeah, a mini robot.
A little one.
Yeah. So I think that's really cool. I look forward to trying something like that at some point, building a crusher or a flipper or a spinner or something. And past that, as mentioned in previous episodes, I'm really aiming to read a lot more books this year, because in my history of living, reading has never been my go-to. I've been much more of a video game player or things like that.
Mhm.
Picking up a book has never really been my go-to hobby. But, with this year, I would really like to try and pick up more books and read more. So the one I'm on right now, Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert A. Heinlein. He's a famous sci-fi fiction author, and it's a very strange book right now, as the title implies, and I'm trying to get through it. It's pretty long. I think I have an unedited version of it that's like 500 some pages.
Oh, you
And
can get through that.
I'm sure I
problem.
can. I'm sure I can give it like a week or something, and
Yeah.
I'll get through it. But
After this, we'll just go sit and we'll read together, because I want to get Redwall done.
there you go. You read the kids' book with animals. I'll read the.
But it's still long. My kid's book is like 400 pages.
We'll do it. It's gonna be our goal, and I'll get through that, and then I'll move on to the next book. That's the plan. Is I've got a bookshelf full of books that just I haven't gotten through, and now the plan is, cruise through them all. Just get through all those books that I haven't read. So that's the plan. And other than that, is there any film news you got to share with us for this week, Laura?
Yeah, I figured out this last week about 2 upcoming things that I'm very, very excited about that I can talk about. Firstly, I don't know where we saw it, but I saw a trailer for an upcoming movie of Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, which is a book by Judy Blume that I and many women my age read when we were like young teens, preteens. And I don't know, I feel like this book was like the turning point of my childhood. It's about a girl dealing with puberty and growing up and just life, really. And it actually has this really I was going to say undercurrent, but I don't even know if it's an undercurrent because it's pretty prominent. But also religion plays a really large part in it because she's half Christian and half Jewish. So it's like a really interesting book. And like I said, I feel like a lot of women my age, we read this as kids. Like this is where I learned about puberty and what happens to my body and all this stuff. So I'm really, really excited actually that it's finally getting made into a movie. It's being directed by Kelly Freeman Craig, who did The Age of 17, which is another really well done coming of age movie. And it was really interesting. I was reading an article about this, and Judy Blume, the author of the book, she has been approached by Hollywood over and over and over again about getting this movie made. And she never agreed to it because she just felt like they were going to water it down because the book has been banned. A lot of conservative people have tried to ban this book because obviously it talks about periods and boobs and sex, stuff. And she was just like, I feel like they won't do it justice and they'll water it down. But she saw The Age of 17 and was like, no, I believe that Craig can really do this movie justice. And so she's finally agreed for it to be made into a movie. So I'm really, really looking forward to that movie. And then, not a movie, but a TV series. I saw that on Hulu, there is going to be Mel Brooks's History of the World Part 2 as an 8-part miniseries. I don't know, Adam, if you know the original. So History of the World Part 1. It's from 1981. It's Mel Brooks' film. And think of Drunk History. It's kind of that vibe. it's Mel Brooks. You know how he goes. He just tells stories in a funny way about parts of history. And so Hulu is releasing an 8-part miniseries that's focusing on like the Egyptians and whatever other periods of history they're doing. I don't even know. And I am a really big fan of that. I'm a big fan of drunk history. So I feel like this show is going to be like right up my alley.
Sounds like it. And I think growing up, I didn't ever read Judy Blume.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect you to.
But, even I'm a little curious
She had
to see.
this other book called Forever. Oh, that was also my childhood. Judy Blume, man.
I'm just curious to see what kind of direction that movie ends up going and just see how that all plays out when they turn that into a film, because I'm sure as a drama film or, what it ends up looking like, I'm sure it'll be what it is. I mean, I don't have words until I see it, I guess,
Did you read Blubber? I feel like that would be the only Judy Blume book you would have maybe read.
Blubber?
Yeah, Blubber.
No.
Okay, well, I'll give you a little background on Judy Blume later.
Well, I saw some news that goes in an opposite direction, but Kevin Spacey pleads not guilty to more UK sexual assault charges.
Get this dumb man out of here.
Yeah, I guess.
How is it still news?
Well, why is it still happening? That's really the question. I saw in an article from Hollywood Reporter that Spacey pleaded not guilty to 7 more counts of sexual assault in a video hearing with London's Southwark Crown Court on January 13th.
Ugh.
Yeah, it just raises the question, really, what's going on there? That's yeah.
No comment from me on that.
It's really a question of what has been happening in the world of Hollywood with a lot of people, and we've got things like this that pop up between that and many other people in the world. But it's what we're seeing in the news for today. But that's what I got. So moving past that, we're going into our film of the week, Gnome Alone. Gnome Alone was directed by Peter Lepiniotis.
I thought you had it. You were going. I think you're right.
Lepiniotis. Peter Lepiniotis.
He's Greek, so, it sounds like a Greek name. Think of I was going to say the guy from Sparta, Leonidas.
Lepinitis?
Lepiniotis.
Yeah, I can't think of
that guy. Peter
Lepiniotis.
We're going to call him Peter.
It's just Peter?
Peter Pumpkin Eater.
Hello, Peter. Screenplay by Michael Schwartz and Zena Zaflo. Story by Robert Moreland. Based on an original story by Kyle Newman and Micah Herman. Produced by John H. Williams and Danielle Sterling. Starring Becky G, Josh Peck, Olivia Holt, Madison De La Garza, George Lopez, Patrick Stump, David Kochner, Tara Strong, Jeff Dunham, Nash Greer, Fred Tetaskor, and perhaps others as well. I mean, the cast in this is actually pretty small.
There's not a whole lot of characters, but they did get some, well-known people.
Yeah.
Surprisingly. I was going to say, Adam, when you were talking about produced by the company that made this film, 3QU Films, it's a Canadian animation company. One of the guys that created it was the producer of Shrek. So some of the movie posters for this film said from the creators of Shrek. Gnome Alone. I was like, they're really milking that association because this movie is in no way equal to Shrek, but they were milking that.
He also worked on Shrek.
This man also worked on Shrek, so we're going to put that on every movie poster so everyone watches it.
I mean, that would be the real seller. I'm not going to lie.
But Adam, do you remember we did a review? I'm pretty sure we did an episode on this movie, the movie Charming, that animated film on Netflix that was also terrible that we watched. It's the other movie made by this company.
Oh.
3QU. Yeah, they've made 2 films. At least that's what the 2 that are really that I saw. And it's this and Charming, which is one that we reviewed that was terrible.
And on that note, this film was distributed by Netflix. The music was by Patrick Stump as well. And
Fall Out Boy fame, for those of you that don't know.
If you don't know who Patrick Stump is. And the box office was $10.8 million, which I was kind of surprised if this film was distributed by Netflix. How did it even get any kind of margin of money in the box office.
Before it got picked up by Netflix, it had an international release. So it was shown in theaters in like Portugal, Cyprus, Greece. It had like an international. That's probably where all the money came from, because it was supposed to have a US theatrical release, but it kept getting like delayed and delayed and delayed. And at that point, they were just like, it's seemingly being delayed indefinitely. And that's finally when Netflix picked it up and put it up on in 2018.
Right. I did see that it was supposed to have a fall of 2017 release. It got pushed to the spring of 2018 and then got pushed again to fall of 2018.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I want to mention, I feel like, Adam, I don't know if we talked about this before. You ever notice, though, where there's movies that come out around the same time that are like the same plot, like the same thing? We have like Ants and A Bug's Life. Like very, very similar, came out around the same time. And I think that's one of the problems with this movie, too, is that like it kind of came out around the same time as Sherlock Gnome. I don't think you've seen that. Another animated gnome movie where he's like a Sherlock Holmes-esque. There was like Gnomeo and Juliet, which actually came out, though, a few years before this. But also what this movie gets compared to like a lot when I was looking at reviews is Troll Hunters, Tales of Arcadia, which was created by Guillermo del Toro. And so I haven't seen that one, actually. But based on the plots, it seems like this movie is almost like an exact copy of Troll Hunters, which is obviously, since it's Guillermo del Toro, is like well done, right? And this one kind of like is its scary rabid step cousin. I don't know. But I just found that interesting, because if I do feel like for a time there was like a lot of gnome movies and they all had gnome puns in the title. Gnomeo and Juliet, Gnome Alone.
Well, and I
Sherlock
think
Gnome.
just in the world now, everyone's a gnome lover or something.
Yeah,
and I'm
my
thinking,
parents, man.
I grew up thinking like I love gnomes and gnomes are great, and then I got a little bit older and was just kind of like, it's fine. Like, I'll let go of the gnome love as much as I did when I was younger, but gnomes are still pretty cool. And now in our current time, for whatever reason, everyone is just flabbergasted by gnomes.
Honestly,
like, I need a gnome here, I need a gnome
thing.
there, I need a gnome all over my home. And it's like, what is the deal right now?
My parents, man, they love gnomes. They're listening. I'm calling you out. They're obsessed.
Yeah. And so if you've never seen the movie that we're discussing this week, Gnome Alone.
I'm not surprised if you've never seen it.
Me neither. But with that being said, if you've never seen it, a quick plot on the film Gnome Alone. I will just run through that real quick here. The plot of the film would be a teenage girl moves into a new house in a new town and discovers her house is under attack by underground beasts. After making the discovery, she finds that she and the house gnomes are the only ones who can offer protection to the town.
I mean, that's it. Yeah, that's in a nutshell.
Like, what? What are you? What is this? And with that all being said, as a synopsis, let me just break it down even further by going to the beginning of this movie real quick. So, when this film is opening up, which I wanted to just start laughing, not out of enjoyment either when I started watching this movie. I'm going to be completely honest. It wasn't me wanting to laugh like, what a great film. I wanted to laugh because I'm like, what the F am I watching here? This girl's in the back seat of a car. Her mom's driving, and they're driving.
And her mom's talking shit about her in front of her.
Her mom...
It's like, damn.
Her mom's basically talking about how, like, being with her daughter in the back seat is not a good thing, and her daughter's sitting there with her headphones on, so she can't hear the whole thing. But she does.
She can hear.
Yeah, she's depressed. She can hear the conversation, and she does take one headphone out so that she can more clearly hear that her mom is talking garbage
shit about her.
Yeah,
she has no friends. She's just sad.
Yeah, like, it's fine. She has no friends. It's cool that we're moving to a new house.
It's fine. I make her move like every year and she can never actually have a stable life. I'm a great mother.
Yeah, it's cool. No biggie. And
she's honestly the worst mom.
And this daughter's in the back seat just sitting there like on her phone trying to text people or look at things on her phone. And then she's just taking a headphone out of her ear to hear this conversation her mom's having on her phone in the front seat driving. And you're seeing this all go down. And then the music, we hear the music she's listening to too. And it's some pop rock song. It's like, I'm
pretty sure the song was sang by Becky G, who is the voice of the main character as well, Chloe. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, no, I made a special note when we were watching this movie, and I was like, God, this mom, she's a bitch. And then it was really funny because I was showing Adam, there's this website, it's for parents, and it just talks about kind of what's in the movie and if it's safe for you to show your kids or something. And it was like, positive role models, 2 out of 5. And I was like, yeah, because he got this horrible mother.
Yeah, pretty much.
Talking shit, and then literally like leaves her kid, gets on a plane, and is like, bye.
That's pretty much every scene with the mom too. It's just like,
I gotta leave.
The main character's name is Chloe, and then we have her mother, which I don't think they ever
Tara?
Yeah, did they actually announce the mother's name?
Catherine.
Oh.
Tara's the actress. The mother's name is Catherine.
Oh, okay.
According to my notes.
But Chloe's the main, the daughter's name, the main character. And it's just, Chloe, I love you so much, but we're doing this for work, and we just have to live here. And
I gotta take this call, and
I gotta take this call.
leave.
Yeah, every scene that has her and Chloe in it, just, I'm sorry, I gotta take this call. And it's like, oh, okay, that wasn't a very loving scene. And the next scene, just like, oh, Chloe, you having a great time at school? Like, no, Mom, I don't have any friends. Oh, well, you'll make some. Oh, I'm sorry, I gotta go.
Yeah, not the best mother. No wonder Chloe's crazy and seeing gnomes. Just kidding.
So,
but can we also talk about the name of the town that they moved to?
Yeah, Tenderville.
Tenderville. Sounds like something from like a chicken nugget commercial.
I thought it said Tinderville when I was first watching the movie, so I was really excited at first when this sign popped up and it said Tenderville, and I'm thinking like, oh, okay, this movie's got some fire to it. They're going to Tinderville.
Tinderville. But also, so Tenderville sounds so sweet, and they pull up, and this house looks like it's like the Addams Family home. Like,
it really does.
Doesn't the movie kind of give you horror film vibes in the beginning? Even the music that's played, and it's like really ominous with this house, which the people in the town call Frankenstein's house. And like, I definitely was giving me eerie horror vibes, and then it suddenly switched to like Happy Gnomes. But because even like the little baddies, which we'll talk about, they were scary and very ominous. And I was like, what is the vibe of this movie?
I mean, again, those were some of the things that were like, on one hand, I'm thinking these are the classic stereotypes of a film like this. That's just kind of like you're putting these tropes, these expected tropes that I knew straight away that you were just going to put these in here. This campy looking haunted house. It's all things I just knew were going to come at me. Why is it here? And then on the other hand, I'm thinking like, I'm kind of glad that I'm expecting all of this, just because I'm sitting here and I'm like, yep, just give me the garbage. I just want to see this garbage.
Yeah. So she moves to this house, right? Her mother abandons her.
Yeah.
She's kind of just like walking around the house trying to check things out, and she finds this secret door.
Well, we didn't even mention the fact that one of the first things she sees in the house before she sees the door are garden gnomes.
Oh, yeah. They just kind of pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah. So she walks into the house, and there is a slew of garden gnomes. 6 of them, actually. Well, there's 5, I think.
5.
The 6th is TBD.
Yeah.
But there's 5 garden gnomes in the house. And
she's like, Mom, are you moving these gnomes?
Well, no, she calls them mini Santas.
Oh, yeah. Mini Santas.
So she's like, what are these mini Santas doing here?
I know. I was like, she kept doing it. And I was like, bitch, do you not just remember they're called gnomes?
I know. Is that really that hard to remember? The mom even is like, they're gnomes. They're garden gnomes.
But they're frozen when she sees them. They just look like little statues.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, she sees them. Then she finds this hidden room in the attic. She goes up there, and there's a glowy...
Well, she's angry, and she kicks the wall.
A green stone. She's
Yeah.
like, ew, this is pretty. I'm going to put it on a necklace.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, she steals the little green stone, turns it into a necklace, and takes it out of the house.
And unbeknownst to her, right, this stone was like the one thing that was keeping our world safe.
Exactly. So
Safe from the Trogs.
yeah. So by stealing that golden gemstone, or not
Green.
golden, but green.
Emerald.
Excuse me. My colors are so strange.
You know, statistically, more men are colorblind than women. So maybe you're just colorblind and you don't know it.
I'm really not. I'm just getting really excited, and I'm swapping my colors around as I talk about it. But she takes the green gemstone from the home, and it opens a portal for the Trogs to come out in the house.
Which look like bowling balls with teeth.
I mean, they're crazy little creatures.
Gumballs.
Pretty much, yeah. They turn into purple spherical balls that roll around, and then they just pop out like, meh.
And they're very Gollum-esque.
Yes. Well,
Food.
on that note, they are totally playing off Lord of the Rings quotes numerous times.
Oh,
in this movie.
not just Lord of the Rings, even.
But other movies.
Yeah,
as well.
there's lots of references in
But
this movie.
clearly the Trogs
I made a note of
are
some.
definitely Gollum referencing.
Very Gollum-esque.
And then the other garden gnome is going off of Gandalf like numerous times.
Yeah. But so Chloe is being attacked by this Trog. Then it just like magically dies. Right? Like, well, okay, but first, the reason the Trogs show up is because she takes the emerald out of the house. So she wears it to school, her first day of school, where she meets the BTCs.
Yeah.
Which are this, ladies and gentlemen, and all other types of people, is where the plot of Mean Girls comes in.
Pretty much, yeah.
Because you have like the main popular girl and her two little sidekicks. They're called the BTCs, which I think is hilarious because that's obviously me, like bitches.
Yeah. And you hear the song "That's Not My Name" kick in.
Yeah. And like the whole thing, right, is Chloe shows up. She's like, oh, well, I want to be friends with these girls. Obviously, like I want to be popular. But there's Liam, who is her neighbor, who's this like super nerdy kid that wants to be friends with her, with Chloe. And Chloe's like, leave me alone, Liam. I want to be friends with these popular girls. And then we have the cute popular boy, right? Trey or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
And like, it's literally the Mean Girls plot because Trey is like, oh, hey, new girl, whatever. And then the BTCs, she comes over and she's like, oh my God, we can be friends even though you're totally crushing on my ex. It's like the exact plot of Mean Girls. I was like, God, what is happening?
And Chloe is so desperate to have a friend because she never has friends. She's trying to figure out how she can be friends with the BTCs, even though another character who also has no friends and is a super nerd in this movie, Liam, who's played by Josh Peck.
And like, Josh Peck, his voice is just so like recognizable.
But no shame.
No shame. But Chloe doesn't want to be friends with him because he's a loser.
Yeah. But Josh Peck, or Liam, I should say, is trying to help her out and is like, you can't really be friends with the BTCs. Like, they don't let anyone be friends with them. So
Chloe's like, oh, just you watch.
Yeah.
And gives him her necklace.
And then she comes home and realizes defend herself from the Trogs by just feeding the Trog a bunch of food because the Trog's like, feed me. Meh, meh. And then all of a sudden the Trog disappears randomly. And she's like, what? And we realize a garden gnome shot it with a laser gun and was just like...
goo gun.
A goo gun. Yes.
Goo gun.
And we realize after he explains to Chloe what's going on that gemstone was...
Well, first, we should say the gnomes, like, knock Chloe out and tie her up.
Yeah. And they're like, where's the gemstone?
Yeah, these, like, little tiny gnomes kidnap her and tie her up and explain, like, we need this gemstone back because it was the only thing keeping the portals closed to the Trog world. Now that it's gone, the Trogs can get through and they'll destroy the world.
Yeah.
These little gumballs are gonna destroy the world. And Chloe's like, well, I don't have the keystone.
It's in my locker at school.
Because I gave it... Yeah, inside, she's like, shit, I gave that gemstone to Chloe, I think was the girl's... No, Chloe's the main girl, Brittany.
Yeah.
I gave that gemstone to Brittany to try and be friends with her. I can't tell the gnomes that. She's like, I left it at school. I can get it back.
Yeah. So she's telling them that she can just go get the gemstone from her locker at school, but we know she handed it off to the other girl.
Right. But before she can get the gemstone back, we get this like long section of them just fighting trogs.
Yeah.
Liam comes over.
Yeah.
And like
he learns about it.
Yeah, he learns about everything. He sees the gnomes, he sees the trogs. And so like him and Chloe team up with these gnomes, and we just get this long scene of them fighting off trogs.
Yeah. And him becoming what he thinks is a friend with Chloe.
Right.
Really becoming interested in her. It's not even necessarily like a love relationship, though. It's just him thinking that they're becoming really good friends. And then as that progresses, then like Chloe is not thinking they're really friends, or she's just ignoring it, essentially.
Yeah. She's like, oh, he's just here to help me. Like, I'm just using him, but we're not actually friends. But so as Adam mentioned, there's goo guns. So we learn that there's this goo that's made by a plant that for some reason is like the one thing that can send the trogs back to their own world. So the gnomes, I keep wanting to call them dwarves. The gnomes,
they get irritated about that in the movie.
The gnomes have a bunch of like Nerf guns, essentially, like super soaker Nerf guns with goo in it. And they just like run around the house shooting at the trogs with this stuff to send them back. And then we should talk about the gnomes themselves. So like there's the three, Alpha, Beta, Charlie, that are all played by Patrick Stump. Sounds absolutely nothing like Patrick Stump. And then we've got like the main leader played by George Lopez. And then, like you said, there's the old one that's very Gandalf-esque. And isn't he the one that's played by David Kushner?
Maybe.
I think so. Zamfir is the name of the gnome. Yeah, it's just the one thing I feel like this movie didn't hit was it didn't give like a potential to really like play up the gnome characters. Like it tried, and you kind of get an idea of the gnomes and their personalities, but like I just didn't feel like it got us there. And this little montage-y fight scene would have been like a really great way for them to like do more with the gnomes, and they just didn't, and I was a little bit disappointed about that.
Yeah,
because it's literally just a montage of them shooting things. Like we don't get anything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of back and forth between Chloe and the gnomes on whether or not the gemstone's coming back. Is the most part, really. It's just kind of, okay, you have that gemstone? No, not yet. I'm working on it. Okay, and then they battle the trogs, and then it's like, okay, go get the gemstone. Yeah, and then she's trying to think about how she's going to get it, and then she fights some more trogs, and then, okay, well, we need that gemstone, and then fight some more. And
so
then
finally, right, her plan is, she told Brittany that she needs it back, and Brittany is to bring it to the school dance that's happening that night. And Chloe will finally get it back.
And that doesn't happen.
No,
she goes to the dance and she expects that gemstone. And Brittany says, well, I left it at home. And
because Brittany is a BTC.
Yeah.
You know
Chloe says, you said that you'd bring it here. And she's like, well, you don't deserve it, or something along those lines.
Well, and then Liam's there, right? And so Brittany's like, oh, you want this back so bad because your boyfriend gave it to you. And Chloe's like, he's not my boyfriend.
Right.
And they make fun of Liam and they like trip him and humiliate him, and he leaves all sad.
And Chloe stands there accepting of that.
Yeah,
first.
She's like, no, I want them to accept me. Like, I want the BTCs to accept me. So I'm going to ignore Liam. But then she slowly has this realization, and she's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, she looks at her text message that she first ignored by Liam when she was going to the dance, and she finally looks at the text message, and it was a very nice text message from Liam
and he
about
said,
how he
your
really cared
friend.
for her.
Yeah, and he was. And she's like, why am I trying to be friends with these assholes when I already have a friend, like in Liam? And she kind of like calls Brittany out, right? Like yells at her and leaves the dance.
Yeah.
But then obviously she gets back to the house, no keystone. And they're like, we got bigger problems.
Yeah. Well, and then after she goes back to the house to try and help Liam or to try and find Liam, she realizes from the gnomes that Liam was taken into the portal.
He fell through a portal and he's in the Trog world.
Yeah, and then Brittany shows up and is freaking out when she gets there. Well, actually,
first
that's
Chloe
later.
goes through a portal and gets
Yeah.
Liam back. Yeah.
I'm going too far
We're
now.
skipping ahead.
Yeah. Well,
so Chloe now is like, Liam is my friend. I'm going to go through a portal and I'm going to save
yeah.
him.
So now they have to get a portal open.
Which is in the
she can go there.
bathroom.
Yeah. So I'm not even sure how they managed to do that. Let me talk about some of the things with this movie where it's kind of like, wait,
Some things
how are
make
you?
no damn sense.
Yeah, how are you doing this in the first place? So somehow they find a portal that goes into their dimension and they open it up. They themselves open it up, or there's one that's already
I don't know.
open.
They said they're like, there should be one here. And then they like, it suddenly appears.
It's just like in the cupboards.
Yeah. I don't get it.
Yeah, and so in the cupboards, there's just a portal into the other people's world. So they're like, okay, well, I'm going here, and so she just goes in there, and it's open long enough. That's another thing too. Like the
other
people are coming
portals
in,
were like,
they
boop,
would
boop.
open and close very quickly. Yeah, this one it's
But
open.
maybe it's just because the gemstone's been gone longer, so the portals are able to be open longer.
Yeah, I'm not
I mean,
buying that.
I'm not saying that, mate.
I'm
I'm
not
just
buying
trying to
that.
make sense of this movie that makes no sense.
Yeah. So that one was just staying open for quite some time, and they had long enough time for them to get her nice and planned and ready to get in it. So they were rigging up a rope and throwing that down there and
Yeah.
having her go down there with that rope and taking their time, lowering her down there and everything. So
So she ends up in the Trog world,
yep.
and she finds Liam pretty quickly, for being honest.
Yeah, I mean, they were trying to lower her down there very slowly. I'm not gonna lie, it was just like, take your time there, Chloe. We're just gonna get you nice in there, easy. And then one of the Trogs actually bites the rope or something,
Yeah.
and she just gets down there very quickly.
Yeah.
And then when they do that, she sees Liam instantaneously.
Yeah. And then, and he instantly forgives her, right?
Yeah,
Like, he should be so mad at her because she was a meanie to him.
yeah.
But, she's like, oh, Liam, you are my friend. And he instantly is like, oh,
Yeah, she's
you're my
like,
best
I read your
friend."
message and I'm so sorry. I messed up. I'm sorry.
It
And
was
they
like the fastest conflict resolution we've ever had in a film.
Yeah.
But so not only does she find Liam though while she's in Trog World, she also finds the missing gnome.
Yeah, the sixth gnome
The sixth
that's been missing the
gnome.
whole time.
Zamfir. Oh, that's Zamfir.
Hmm.
The missing one. He's like a crazy flute playing,
Poop smelling gnome.
poop smelling, Scottish-esque gnome. I'm like, he's just a crazy man.
Yeah.
And so they find him and he's been missing forever. And they also find a giant crystal. Surprise,
Yeah.
surprise.
All in a matter of minutes.
Yeah. And they learn that if they put Chloe's phone next to the crystal, it gives it a lot of energy and it might explode.
Yeah.
So they quickly come up with this plan to blow up the crystal and destroy the Trog world.
And so first what they do is they get a rope and
they jump on. Oh, well, they get a rope to go over to the crystal.
to go over the crystal, yeah. And then they throw the rope at the crystal, and then all they had to do was just hold on to the rope, and then they just slide
They
over there.
flew upwards.
They literally just fly over. No effort needed. You just grab onto the rope and just zip over.
Yeah. Again, this movie makes no sense.
And then in doing that, that's when they learn about the cell phone thing. Then in doing that, then there's just these floating bubble balls that are going up
the
into
Trogs.
a portal. Yeah. And so they're like, okay, throw your battery at the crystal as we fly into the portal and, save ourselves. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, this is what makes really no damn sense to me at all. So they're on Trogs riding out of the world through the portal, but on the other side, the Trogs are being sucked back
Into the
through
portal.
the portal. So how the hell do the two humans and the gnome escape
Get
and
out
get
of the
back to the
portal,
real
while
world,
the
but
other ones are
all
going
the
in a portal
Trogs go
in.
back and it explodes? It makes absolutely no sense. And they come
Yeah.
up through the toilet.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Yeah. I was not understanding that at all.
And you would think that would be the end of the movie. They destroyed the Trog world. They
Right.
saved everyone. But no, it's not even the end.
Right. they come out. They're like, cool, yeah, that was great. And they're in the house. They're figuring things out. They're like, great, all the gnomes are here, and let's
And then
figure out the next plan.
Brittany
and then
shows
Brittany
up.
shows up. She's ticked off because
she pissed.
she's gonna film Chloe and try and expose her for being how she was at the dance.
Yeah. Well, essentially, she's like, no one, like, comes at me. Like, I can say we're not friends, but you can't say.
Yeah, no one
we're
messes
not
with the
friends.
BTC, and then out of nowhere we get the giant Trog demon monster,
Megatron.
basically. The Megatron, and now we got to mess with that now and try and figure out how we're going to destroy the Megatron. And so I guess in that plan,
They all go to the roof.
Yeah, he's coming out. They all go to the roof to fight the Megatron.
Like, why? Whatever. Makes no sense.
In doing that, we begin to learn as in going to the roof, Chloe starts to go up into the attic. She sees a plant up there.
The ooze
and
plant.
The Megatron does not like that plant. So
Megatrog.
So that plant is going to be the main weapon. And then we realize again through Brittany, she drops her cell phone. And so we put the cell phone inside of the plant and then throw
makes
that
a bomb.
Throw that at the Megatron and
Megatrog.
Megatrog, excuse me. Megatron can be a new film.
Isn't that that's from something? Isn't it a Transformer or something?
Well, Tron is a Disney film.
I know, but I feel like Megatron is something.
Megatron must be stopped. Yeah, I think that is a Transformer.
It is a Transformer. Different movie.
Megatrog,
Megatrog.
excuse me, in my alliteration there.
Right. So Chloe takes the phone in the plant, throws it in the Megatrog's mouth, and he blows up. And that's it.
And then we figure out how to resolve from there, because once Megatrog blows up, then the gnomes, their greatest thing that they're looking forward to is developing a garden.
Yeah. They just want a garden. And they're like fighting over what the garden is going to be.
I want petunias!
I want petunias! And like Chloe just randomly wakes up in her bed and she's like, oh, the world's back to normal. And her mom's there and she's like, I love you, Mom. And I'm like, why? Your mom? Why are you saying you love your mom?
Yeah,
she didn't
your
do
mom hasn't
anything.
even been here for like
She
the entire film.
She abandoned you.
Yeah.
She has not become a better person.
And then Chloe ends up going to school with Liam, and he's like, hey, Chloe, you ready for school? And Chloe's like, yeah, let's go.
We're
And then the
friends.
last thing that she's saying to Liam, she's like, you know what? I think I'm ready to change my hair. And Liam's like, what? Really? What do you think? He's like, maybe brown or blonde.
Yeah,
you
I'm
know?
like, wait, what?
Like, what? Why? Yeah, why are we talking about this?
This movie is dumb.
Like, we go from this entire garden gnome battle with
Yeah.
the Megatrog, and now we get, well, I'm thinking of changing my hair color.
Yeah. And that's the movie, people. It was like 120 minutes. No, it was an hour and 28 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not a whole lot. I will say, though, now that we've gone through the plot, the music was actually pretty good in this movie.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick Stump.
Patrick Stump, I did love Fall Out Boy. I was obsessed. I've seen it in concert several times. The music is the one good thing in this movie.
Or the random quotes that they're just playing on
Yeah.
other movies.
Oh, I made a list of some of the references that were made in this movie. Some of them we've already talked about. Yeah. So obviously they make Lord of the Rings references, as Adam's already talked about. Mean Girls, we talked about. That's like a big part of the plot. The title is obviously a reference to Home Alone. There's also one point where the gnomes say like, game over, man, game
Yeah.
over. And that's a reference to Aliens. And then I was reading one where I was like, I guess it's a reference, but I don't really see it. They're saying like how she was having the Trog swallow whole eggs was like in Beauty and the Beast when Gaston like, eats 5 dozen eggs. Like
Oh.
when he eats those raw eggs. I didn't really see that as a reference, but that's what the internet said.
Yeah. I mean, the gnomes are always calling Chloe Pinky, too.
Pinky. Like
That was-
Pinky in the Brain? Well, it's because her hair was pink.
Yeah, it's because her hair was pink. They just
Obviously.
weren't calling her Chloe.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, I mean, that's really it on this movie, honestly. Like I say, the music slapped. The music was great. Patrick Stump, you keep going.
right. Yeah.
But otherwise, can I go back as we're kind of moving our way into reviews maybe? So I mentioned that website that talks about, is this movie okay for kids?
Mhm.
So I already talked about the positive role model bit, but there were some other like values that I thought was really funny. So one of the things they rate on is educational value. And this one just said, not present.
Oh my gosh.
And then I don't know, like the rating it was giving to parents, it was like, it is a bit scary and violent, so it's not really appropriate for like young kids. And there's a lot of cell phone use. Like, so don't let your kids watch it because all they'll do is play on their phones. I don't know. I thought it was a funny site. I was enjoying myself reading that review.
Yeah, going into the reviews for this movie,
not a lot out there.
That's true. Not a lot out there. And I will say, even Rotten Tomatoes, it doesn't even have a critic's tomato meter. I mean, it's totally blank on the critic's side, but for the audience score, it's a 47%. So
honestly, I feel like that's high.
I hate to say I agree, but I do.
Like maybe 20.
Yeah, it's something else. And I'd be curious to see.
I did see one of the few reviews that were out there was one from a website called CG Movie Review. And he just pretty much summed it up by saying, like, this movie just essentially fails to deliver on cleverness and cuteness, which is all you want out of a kid movie, right? And I was like, yeah, I get it. I see it.
Well, Common Sense Media gave it 2 stars out of 5. So
that's the website for the parents.
Oh, yeah. So?
And they know they are for the parents.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go another step further on Letterboxd, from everyone saying what movies they've watched and everything, out of 2,652 reviews, it's got a 2-star rating.
Yeah,
so.
That's what I said, 20%. Yeah, I would say. I would agree. Only 2 stars because Patrick's up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So with where we're at right now with this, I'd say
I don't even know what else to say.
It is a prime time for us to go into our Slurps Up or Slurps Down section. Slurps Up meaning we do recommend it. We do think that you should watch it, and we think that you should check it out. And Slurps Down meaning we do not think you should watch the movie. We think that you should maybe put the movie in the garbage can, and we think that that can should be lit on fire. Laura, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely Slurps Down. There's even if you have kids, go watch Romeo and Juliet. I feel like that's probably way better than this one. I maybe if you're super high, just want to put something dumb on. It didn't give me the laughs I wanted. It made no sense. I didn't get what I wanted out of the gnome characters because there's just so much like focus on nothing, so it's a Slurps Down for me. I don't think people should watch it. What about you, Adam?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got to agree. It's a Slurps Down for me. And honestly, if there's anything to take away with this movie, maybe let it be like a film school starter kit. Like
what not to do.
Yeah, what not to do.
The animation wasn't bad.
I can also agree with. I mean, the animation was
about
nice.
Positives.
Happy to see that. I mean, the voice acting was still something I would appreciate. I think like that was good.
Yeah.
But listen, like
we're trying to pick the best, so don't give it like total shit.
And we like the music, but come on, like sitting through this was I think it's not something I want to do again. It's just like there's so many other great animated movies, and if this movie's promoting itself as like from the creators of Shrek, I would put Shrek on anytime and be like, yeah, like constant funny jokes. And then looking at this movie, it's like, no, not this one. It's tough. It's really tough, and with the repetitiveness of the jokes that they're trying to pull, repetitive is the key word there. I think it's just constantly like, well, you got that gemstone, you got that gemstone, you got that gemstone, and it's like, listen, there's got to be something more than that, but there's not with this movie.
No,
there's really not. So the spectrum of broadness with this, there is none. There is no Sometimes simplicity is good, but with this movie, it is absolutely not. It just does not go anywhere.
much.
So I'm gonna say no. I'm just no slurps up on this one. It is a slurps down. And with that being said, that wraps it up for this episode of Screen Slurps. Be sure to follow us on social media at Screen Slurps on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. And be sure to listen to us on Spotify, Ghana, or any other podcast streaming service out there. And if you enjoy what you hear, slide on over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating. It will help us a lot. And if there's any crazy movies that you want to hear about, please let us know. Leave a comment on one of our social media pages, and trust me when I say we will be sure to talk about it. So, closing out, I'm Adam Meisner.
And I'm Laura Herlocker.
Slurps up, and we will catch you later.
You shall not pass.
Please.